This is one of the most foul movies I've ever seen, and the true story is even worse.
Okay, guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Real versus Real. This week is my choice, which is Snowtown or the Snowtown Murders.
Yeah, it kind of has both names for some reason. I don't.
Yeah, when you look for it, you can find it in either which way, which was really weird. Kind of a movie or a situation I feel like I would end up in myself.
What?
I would get caught up with these guys.
You'd be like, yeah, I don't like pedos. And then next thing you know, you're like,
all of a sudden,
why are we
I'm just
torturing these people?
Why are we smoking like 30 guys? No, it's like 11. Anyway, guys, well, this movie is based on a true events, and it is kind of known as one of the most accurate depictions of like a true story. So, normally we do an accuracy level at the end of these things. This one might be a little bit closer to accurate than not. Yeah. So anyway, guys, with that being said, let's jump right into it after a quick word from Carson.
Yeah, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. We need all the help we can get. I see that we do have a couple new subscribers. You know, nothing crazy, but we appreciate you guys. So yeah, keep showing us some support, and we'll keep putting out videos. You know, we've been doing this for a long time, and, you know, one day we'll find our audience. So I appreciate
our audience will come. And when they do come, they will look at all of our backlog and see how bad we were, videos. But how much we've been doing.
I would love a hater. I just want a hater, even. A couple haters would be great.
How many hours do you think we put into, like, on YouTube, we've only been doing this. This is like our second year on YouTube.
I believe so, yeah.
Maybe third.
Yeah.
But how long have we been doing it? How many hours of movies do you think we've watched for the podcast? Yeah, alone. That would be really interesting.
I wonder
if we could pull that up on like Spotify.
Yeah, I think we could, because everything's on there for the most part.
Spotify and YouTube. Let's just kind of figure that out. Anyway, guys, okay, back into it. We are going to start with this new movie. Not new movie. It came out in 2011. New movie to us called Snowtown. Here's the logline. Based on true events, 16-year-old Jamie falls in with his mother's new boyfriend and his crowd of self-appointed neighborhood watchmen, a relationship that leads to a spree of torture and murder.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Well,
this movie. Okay, before we jump into like Daniel's story here about the fun true story of this movie, viewer discretion is advised. This movie is extremely vile. I mean, it shows a lot, but it doesn't show as much as you think it would. But yeah, it's just an intense watch. It has a lot of grime and uneasiness that you'll feel throughout, and I think it's appropriate for the story you're about to hear.
Yeah. So just kind of giving like a little bit of a brief like rundown of what the movie is. It's kind of like a real like, I don't know. Do you want to do like a brief overview of the movie before I get into the true story?
I mean, it almost feels, without going too into detail, the movie's almost like a slice of life, as if we get a section of this true crime event from the main boy's perspective, not from the actual main killer's perspective. So we don't really get all the details, and the movie doesn't care that you don't know what's going on. I think they probably assume, maybe a majority Australian audience is watching this. But overall, we're just kind of following this boy as he's more or less groomed into... At first, it starts as like a revenge thing, but he ends up kind of helping kill all these, mostly gay men and people with disabilities and stuff like that throughout the course of this film. And it's like torturous, too. It's not just, killing and done. It gets pretty intense. And there's some like really uncomfortable conversations throughout the movie. There's some essay scenes that are pretty graphic almost from the beginning. It almost seems like everyone in this town was a predator. So and one way or the other. So yeah, just I don't know how else to describe the movie, but that's what it is. It's intense.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So for this movie, it is based on a real town, Snowtown, Australia, and it is known more so as the Snowtown murders, one of the most disturbing serial murder cases in Australian history.
Wow.
Released in 2011 and directed by Justin Kurzel, the movie focuses on the teenager, Jamie, as we kind of already said, and the relationship with the killer. So the film became famous or infamous because of how realistic and uncomfortable it feels. There are no, like, that's actually something that I really like too, that it wasn't like right in our A24 films nowadays.
Yeah.
It's very, very much so gruesome and like what I always say is gore porn. But this one, it had some of that in there, but it wasn't the whole movie. It almost relied heavily on John Bunting's character.
Yeah.
Rather
like you really
than,
get
like,
into his
seeing...
mind.
Right, exactly. So that is something that I did appreciate. It is like, for people who have not seen crazy things like we have, it is still pretty shocking.
I think it's more shocking because it's real. I think that's what kind of...
Right.
Like, I've seen movies that are way more disturbing, like visually at least. But the idea behind this and like putting yourself in some of the characters' shoes, like if you really try to feel what they're feeling, it's not... Yeah, it's unpleasant.
Exactly. So the real story took place between 1992 and 1999 in South Australia. Yeah, that is a very long time. Police eventually connected 11 murders to the group led by John Bunting, making it one of the worst serial murder cases in their history.
Wow.
What made the case especially disturbing was that many of the killers appeared completely ordinary. They lived in working class neighborhoods, had families, and blended into everyday life while carrying out horrific crime scenes in secret. So, real life John Bunting, he was described as a charismatic, funny, and manipulative person. He wasn't viewed as a monster, but people around him, in fact, or two people around him, but the people ended up actually trusting him at first. Which is perfectly described in this movie. Like,
yeah, they do a great job.
He is a likable guy. He actually comes in to save the day.
He feels like a hero
after the first kind of... Yeah. And he kind of... It plays that way, too, because he is more so of like a... maybe like an anti-hero of like, no, I want to...
Yeah, it's more like... It starts...
these guys that...
At least he makes it seem like it's vigilanteism in the movie.
Yeah.
It obviously goes south from there. I do want to say, too, like, as far as like... You know, if you look up what this guy looks like in real life, he looks kind of ugly and gross or whatever. But charismatic-wise, he really is funny and charismatic in the movie, too. Like, they played that really well. Like, him jumping on the trampoline and just kind of being a goober and seems like a normal family man. Even you see some of the cracks here and there, but not like you would in, like, we have another movie that we're reviewing, like, with Jeffrey Dahmer, where you see those cracks pretty early on. Those are big cracks for Jeffrey. For this guy, you don't really notice. He's pretty normal. Seems normal.
I have a couple of theories. Anyway, so moving on. Before the murders, Bunting reportedly developed an intense hatred toward pedophiles after a friend's son was abused by a neighbor. Early on, some people even viewed him as a vigilante figure trying to protect a child. But eventually the hatred expanded far beyond actual offenders, which is exactly what this movie kind of depicts, which is, I think it was really funny because they kind of had this like round table of like guys that like say, you know, what should we do to pedophiles?
Like,
we should kill them and all this type of thing. And, and all the while they only got one actual pedophile, like
pretty
murdered.
Much.
The rest of the people were like gay or just kind of out.
Well, like, even, like, there was a cross-dresser guy in the movie who's helping them. I think they switched that character in real life as someone else. But in the movie, that person's pretty chill, and he's actually, like, helping them. And then they kill him, like, immediately.
Exactly. So, victims later included people with disabilities, people struggling with addiction, homosexual men, and vulnerable individuals Bunting simply disliked or wanted to control, which is exactly how this character plays out. The movie captures how Bunting used moral justification and manipulation to slowly influence the people around him. Now, moving on to Jamie. Jamie is kind of the protagonist here, who gets caught up in everything. Jamie was a real person, and the film stays very close to the reality with his character. So the movie portrays Jamie as an isolated, emotionally vulnerable, and desperate for approval, according to reports from the real case that were largely true. Bunting slowly became a father figure to him and manipulated him into becoming involved in murders. That relationship is one of the most disturbing parts of the movie and the real case because it shows how psychological control can completely reshape someone's morality over time.
Yeah, the movie does that really well, and it's really sad, actually. It feels sad to me.
Yeah.
Because you see all this horrible stuff happening to Jamie in the movie, and then, he finally has a positive male figure in his life, because mom's kind of not really in the picture as much as she probably should be, and the whole thing is a mess. Like, his whole family life is a mess. And this guy comes in who seems kind of cool, like, this guy might stand up for me kind of thing. And then he obviously takes advantage of him. So, and he's like kind of like a soft-hearted guy, I feel like, at least in the movie.
Well, you just feel so bad because in the movie you have his mom's boyfriend who almost seemingly like knows what's going on with her first boyfriend and doesn't care. Yeah, and unfortunately her boyfriend does take photos of him and all of his brothers while they strip down, and it's very just uncomfortable. So you can just see already, even though it seems like Jamie is kind of built like a guy who could, stand up for himself. The reality is like you kind of feel like there's something deeper that goes on here with Jamie because he is like so submissive to all these men who kind of take power and control over him. So I definitely felt bad for Jamie the entire movie because like even from like I guess like we kind of see it from his brother. He is essayed in this really gruesome scene. And
I thought they were playing around at first. I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I was like, oh,
yeah, and
oh,
then
Lord.
it just like slowly
like, I'm just like, why am I watching this?
It reminds me of our childhood, am I right?
Yeah, me and you, dude. The Opus clips for this is going to be like, Daniel and Carson talk about SA.
Yeah, really. Okay, so actually the most inaccurate part of this movie, which is kind of funny, is that the murders happened in a poor working class suburbs in South Australia during the 1990s. Many victims were socially isolated in 1900s. I mean, that's what
technically true.
People say it nowadays. Or living unstable lives. The movie focuses heavily on discomfort, silence, and realism rather than cinematic violence. That grounded style reflects the emotional reality of the... That's why I feel so disturbing. I hate that, like... Never mind.
I don't know what you're saying.
Never mind. I might cut that out. Okay, so what the movie changed, the timeline. The film compresses and simplifies several years of events, which is kind of why it makes it feel like it's a slice of life rather than, the whole, 6 years that this happened.
Yeah, we don't even get,
in reality,
sorry to interrupt, but we don't even get in the movie, like, them being pursued by the police or law enforcement investigation at all. It's, like, just a title card, which I kind of liked. I think the ending is actually really good.
I kind of like it too, but then they also did it in Dahmer, and I'm like, okay, why is it every murder?
Why are we doing it this way? The Dahmer one was also pretty good too, though.
That? Yeah, I forgot that's how it ended, and I was just like, kind of like, oh man. So, okay, in reality, the murders happened over nearly a decade and involved multiple accomplices alongside Bunting. The movie narrows its focus to create a more personal story centered around Jamie and Bunting's relationship.
So more people were involved, basically.
Yeah, and a lot of people were sentenced. And technically, at the end of the movie, Bunting, I looked it up. I don't know if you could find anything different. Bunting was supposed to be eligible for parole as of last year in 2025.
That's crazy. Bunting or Jamie?
So, I thought it was Bunting.
That's insane.
Might have been Jamie.
I hope it was Jamie, not Bunting.
Maybe it was Jamie.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to live
I'm pretty sure it was Bunting, though. Yeah, we'll live fact check this. This wasn't on my notes. I just remembered it from the movie.
I think it was Jamie, dude. Yeah, it was Jamie. He's still in jail, though. He was supposed to be released in 2025, and they denied it.
Eligible for parole, not released.
That's true, parole.
So that means you can get time taken off of your sentence.
So he tried to get it.
Anyway, did he?
He did not get it.
I swear I
they
just
did not
looked
approve
it up and it was Bunting.
It was Jamie. Yeah.
Anyway, whoever was eligible for parole is not out yet, so we can still sleep safely at night if you are gay.
That's crazy. Or if you're just conceived, we would probably be targeted, dude. The skinny jeans would get us.
Yeah, it's a good thing we moved to baggy pants. Okay, so the movie is brutal, but the real crimes were reportedly even worse here.
Yeah.
Investigators said victims were often tortured, humiliated, and psychologically abused before being murdered. Court reports described prolonged beatings and extreme degradation. Many of those details were toned down or excluded entirely from the film.
It's crazy though, because the one scene they do show to like someone that I'm like, yeah, maybe they deserve to be killed.
Yeah.
The bathtub scene is so vile though when you're watching it, and then they didn't really explain this in the movie. I had to look it up, but there was the whole like him calling him master while he's getting killed. Apparently, that was a thing that he would do. He would get them to like praise him, which is so sick.
It's just a weird, like,
Little,
I don't know. Is that narcissism?
This little man syndrome taken to the max. How tall was Bunting?
Okay. Well, a lot of people assume the murders happened in the Snowtown, in the town of Snowtown. This is what I was going to say is the most inaccurate portion of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Most actually did not. The case became known as the Snowtown murders because the police discovered several bodies hidden inside barrels in the vault of an abandoned bank building in Snowtown, South Australia. That discovery became one of the most infamous images associated with the case. Reports say neighborhoods had complained about a terrible smell coming from the building before police eventually investigated.
Oh.
Honestly, I've never been in a place where, like, right, that's like the most common thing. Like, right, when somebody passes away in their house and, like, neighbors will complain about, like, a really awful smell and it'll end up being, like, the neighbor dead.
That's
I've never had to
crazy.
smell what a decaying body smells like, but I, like, don't want to know.
Yeah, my father-in-law has told me he's a police officer and has told me some stories about like bodies that he's had to smell and stuff, and it's described as like a sickly sweet smell. So it's not. It's like
You had to smell them. Your father-in-law's a drug dog for the force.
That's a new character on Bluey. Did you know the mom is like a TSA agent, like a sniffer dog? That's her job in Bluey.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
In
Anyways,
Bluey? That's insane.
Side
That's
note.
our next real versus real.
Bluey.
Okay. Okay, so how the killers targeted victims. Many victims came from unstable backgrounds and were socially isolated. The group often targeted people they believed would not immediately be reported missing. Some victims were acquaintances, friends, or even family members connected to the killers. After murders, the group frequently stole victims' money, pension, or belongings, which is
That's so
hilarious.
messed up.
The case later raised serious questions about how society overlooks vulnerable people when they disappear.
Yeah, I mean the movie shows that too because all he does is just record them speaking, and then leaves like a voicemail, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess they're gone." But also, kind of makes it seem like Snowtown just sucks. Like that so many people are just leaving.
They just don't care about their. Okay. Okay, so Jamie's testimony eventually cooperated with police and testified against John Bunting during the investigation. His testimony became a major part of the prosecution's case. Bunting later received multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. Wow. And it says the same thing at the end of the movie where he was only, I think, found guilty for 11 murders at first.
So Jamie's the one who got parole.
And got all 11 pinned on him.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and now finally, when we get to the disturbing parts of this case, what makes Snowtown different from most true crime films is how ordinary everything feels. There are no dramatic speeches or exaggerated horror moments. Violence often appears sudden and emotionless. The film is less interested in shocking the audience and more interested in showing how manipulation, abuse, and fear slowly corrupt people over time. The realism is what makes it difficult to watch, which I would agree. Is so true because, like what we were saying earlier, it's not the gore porn that we're so used to. It's literally just the eeriness of Bunting and how he plays that, or how that character is played out. So Snowtown changes the timeline and leaves out some details, but emotionally and psychologically it is considered very, very accurate. The manipulation, atmosphere, and relationships shown in the film closely reflect the real case. Even some events were condensed for storytelling, even though they were. And in many ways, the real story was even darker than what it was made to be on screen.
You know,
So,
one of the things
yeah.
that I feel like could have made it easier for them to catch this guy is, he used to be a neo-Nazi. He was hanging out with neo-Nazi groups. He just had them all shaving their heads pretty regularly. I feel like that would have stood out if I just saw a bunch of skinheads walking around and the only people missing were gay. I mean, I would be like, yo, that's the killer, dude.
That's insane. Anyway,
Just
so
saying.
a lot of people have reported on this. BBC and The Guardian and ABC News have all covered stuff like this. So it's a pretty big case, and I honestly, like, even though we've kind of touched on the surface of Snowtown, I really
There's so
wish
much.
and or hope there's more stuff that we could look into it, because it's pretty interesting.
No, I was looking at documentaries and stuff. There's like tons to know about this case. I don't know if I really want to know right now, but there's so much more. Just like scratching the surface, I guess.
Anyway, guys, so this movie is on AMC Plus. I think it's on Tubi as well.
Shudder.
Shudder, yeah, which is AMC owns it.
Yeah.
So, guys, let us know what you think. I'm going to kind of give this, in terms of reality, obviously we know still kind of bare minimum of, like, the case itself. I would give this a pretty close to, like, a 3.5 out of 5 in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, I think you're right on there, because some of the characters' names seem to be changed slightly here and there, and, like, a few events are condensed or missing, but overall, it doesn't make it more over. I feel like Zodiac, while pretty accurate, stretched some of the truth to make it a more entertaining film. This doesn't really do that. It makes it. They like make it more devastating, I guess, slightly, but it's pretty dang
almost
close.
like they take out more, and it's still close, and it's still scary.
And it's because we're just not seeing all the events. Is kind of how it plays out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyway, the suspension of disbelief on this one, or belief, really, is pretty. It gets you. Anyway, guys.
Side note before we close, in your free time, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and look up merch from this, from the Snowtown real life murder, because for a while people in the town were selling merch, and it was like little barrels with like hands sticking out of them and stuff. I was just looking. It is insane. I love Australia.
Awesome.
I love Australia.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that is the real versus real for this week. We will see you next week for a new month. Thanks for sticking around, guys, and we will see you in the next one. Be kind, rewind.
Peace.